The views and opinions expressed in this podcast by the host and or the guest do not necessarily reflect the views of the host and or Paranormal Buzz Radio and or its sponsors. Use of any material produced by Paranormal Buzz Radio without express written consent is prohibited. Paranormal Buzz Radio will not be held responsible for you holding your knees, crying, and rocking in a corner in a puddle of your own urine, or being beheaded by a group of children in a cornfield. In fact, if you come across a group of children in a cornfield, we promise to make fun of you as you run away screaming in terror. Listener discretion is advised.
You are now entering the all-consuming realm of Shay's Paranormal Chat, where the things that are better left unsaid are actually said.
Shut up and sit down.
You're listening to Shay's Paranormal Chat. Paranormal podcasting done Shay's way. Tons of fun.
Dude, seriously?
A bit sarcastic.
Hashtag investigator, not hunter.
But always real. Don't get your panties in a twist.
Oh my god, really?
This is real, raw conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Hey everybody, welcome back. TGIF, huh? Yes, Jen, fancy meeting you here. I wonder why I'm here. Let's see. This week we are very honored. We have, if you're ever in chats, you know her by name, and now you guys will actually get to know her like I have. I'm very honored to have her here. Miss Ileata Kenley. She's an author. She is so much. I can't even. Let's see if I can get this right, Ileata. You ready? Author, and we'll get into the books in a minute here, but she's a paranormal investigator. She does research on genealogy, parapsychology field stuff, historical research, and a member of ADEAW, ADEAW. Yep. Yeah, we're having some I thought we were going to have some technical difficulty here. Yeah, hold on one second, guys. I had this trouble last time. Let's see if we can, no, we don't want to do that. Stop that. We had issues just starting the call, so, let's see. Hold on here. Sphere. Yeah, they can hear me. They can't hear you. And I'm not muted. That much I do know. You're not muted. Huh. It's about time Spreaker acted up. It's been a few weeks. Yeah, I think it is Skype. I'm just, we're checking. Hold on. Microphone, automatic. Speaker. I just keep talking. No, me. You can't talk until until they can hear you. Yeah. Kim and Jen will be patient. Hopefully everybody else listening will be. Not sure. All right, guys, hold on a second. Here, we are going to play some music while we fix this. My new Shay Done Fucked Up music here. So hope you enjoy it. I will be right back.
Yay!
There we go, guys.
I can talk now.
Yes.
Okay, so what are we going to talk about? Something weird.
Always.
Okay.
I don't know why because Skype called you on the number instead of the Skype to Skype.
Oh.
The first time, and then when I had to call back through Skype, it switched the settings in Skype.
Why can't they just make something flippin' easy?
Yeah. Jen thinks my music was hilarious. It's the first time. It's been on there for like a month, and I haven't had a chance to play my Shay Done Fucked Up music because I haven't messed up in a while.
Yeah.
So the music was weird. If anybody's wondering, I picked it because it was that do my airs hang low beat, do they tumble? So that's what it was. You couldn't hear it, I don't think, but they could.
No.
So, okay, let's start over. Let's expand. Oh man! See, we should have taken those shots of whiskey before the show.
Yep. I was thinking about it, and I had one of them days.
Yeah, I know. We both did. We were like, "Oh, what a day!"
Yeah.
You want to explain what the ADEAW is?
Yeah. It means Associated Daughters of Early American Witches. It is a lineage group like the Mayflower Society and Daughters of the Early American Revolution. I'm just kind of a rebel in my family. Rest of my family belongs to like the Mayflower Society because we're actually direct descendants of John and Priscilla Mullins too. And I wanted to be different, and we had a Salem witch ancestor, so I documented over 300 years of my family, and I sent it in, and I got approved. Of course, a lot of it was done for me because our family members belong to all these other little club things, but yeah, that was my claim to fame. I'm a Salem witch, and my Salem witch ancestor was Margaret Scott, and she was a old lady. And they thought she was a witch for like 20 years before the witch trials, and I don't know why all of a sudden it pissed them off in 1692, but it did. And she was an old lady too. I very much doubt she was a witch. Probably maybe a healer or fortune teller or something.
I think you sent me an article.
Yeah.
On her. The thing the thing I love is I don't even actually know if you're in Iowa or Nebraska. You're like all over the place. Where physically what state do you live in?
I live in Nebraska, Hastings, Nebraska.
That's what I thought, but I wasn't sure because you're a little bit everywhere. But we put stuff up on our sis page, and you're like, oh, look at this clip. Or I have family member here. Oh, look, I have relatives here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because a lot of, they were, Mayflower, Eastern, Massachusetts and New Hampshire and stuff. And I have some really strange relatives and stuff. And it's just so bizarre. I'm actually related to Joshua Gordon. And, he actually had like some kind of folk magic spell book thing. It's in the South Carolina University library or something, but in the late 1700s, he had some kind of spell book he written, and then someone, I think I sent you that one thing, that one relative in New Hampshire, they were making some kind of witch thing to kill this witch, and it was like, holy cow, you guys, people were, you were kind of wild, but you're interesting.
There's quite a few places I've been to. The cemetery, was it the old burying ground? And
Deerfield.
Deerfield.
Yeah.
You're like, I have relatives there.
Yeah, and I sent you the story about Zachariah Field, and that's my. And they were having paranormal experiences, and that's like, this is so wild. These people, it's just, I think it's just something. My family has weird stuff. Well, they were all like, belonged to Freemasons too, and in fact, Margaret Scott's grandson was one of the first Freemasons in the United States, and I thought that was kind of cool too.
That is. That's very cool.
But
I just find it funny because, I mean, like 5 out of the last 10 places, or even whatever it's been, but. It's like every other place I go to, you're like, I have a relative there. I have a relative buried there. So.
Oh, yeah. Ancestry.
Yep.
And stuff. And it's just fascinating, when it's like, oh, gosh, I wish I could go there. Because, see, I've been all over the world, but I've never been to New York. I'd like to go to New York and Massachusetts. I've never been to Salem and stuff. And it's like, I want to go. But I've been all over everywhere else. Mostly just the western United States, but
yeah. Well, I'm 2 hours from Salem. Not even, I don't think.
No, how?
2 hours from Salem, Mass. I technically live in New Hampshire now, but I grew up in Massachusetts.
Oh, wow.
So
much history, you have so many places to go. Nebraska, we have cornfields. Hey, we have He Who Lives Behind the Rose, so and Malachi. So we're up there.
That's funny. We were on one of our investigations. I think it was in September. We were messing around in a cornfield, calling for Malachi.
Yeah,
it wasn't dirt. We took a break from the investigation and went playing in the cornfield that was nearby, and it will soon be on our blooper reel, I'm sure.
The creepy thing is about cornfields at night, you can actually hear them grow. You hear the leaves unravel and stuff. They're actually making noises. And
that's just the children of the corn that live in there. That's what that is.
Yeah.
But Jen wants to know. Jen wants to know, he who shall not be named, ?
Oh, I don't even know what his name is.
We will have to get back to you, Miss Jen B.
Yeah. So what else do you want to hear about? What do you want to hear about Nebraska hauntings? Or I can tell you, about the funniest investigation I did.
Why don't we throw out your book?
Oh, okay.
Your new book, and then we can start talking about haunted Nebraska.
Oh, okay. Which one? You want to talk about the Piper book, or
whichever one, if you want to promote?
They both came out at the same time. I meant, just within about a month and stuff. So I don't care.
Jen was joking. See, it went right over my head. Okay, yeah. Let's see. We got, what is the first one? Pay the Piper, about Melbourne.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, we worked an investigation. I did was as a family trip. I would, my son, my daughter, which they're adults and stuff. They have their own families, but I thought, what way, let's do an investigation together. What the heck? So, Melbourne Manor, for the price, you can, the whole family stay there and we can check it out. And, we're kind of like the Addams family anyway. So, I always look up the history of places. I never quite, like we were talking about pay-to-play places. I just like to know the history myself. So I didn't really delve into the the history about, I know, I guess it was like a home for mentally disabled people for at one time. I looked back further and into the history, and then I had also watched a program. It was Paranormal Lockdown, and it had Johnny Hauser on there.
Yep.
And he was at Malvern Manor, and he had a experience with a spirit there. I guess he was kind of aggressive to him. And I was like, well, why the heck would a spirit at Malvern be aggressive at to Johnny Hauser other than, he's the caretaker of Villisca? So then I go, well, maybe is there a connection? Maybe when the spirits at Malvern has something to do with Villisca. So I'm looking, and then I found this Ralph Piper. And the more I looked into this Ralph Piper, I'm like, holy cow. And by the time we went there and stuff, I just, on a hunch, I was doing EVPs when we were downstairs. And we really didn't have a lot, but other than I showed you that clip of that shadow was moving or whatever it was moving in that room. I have no idea. But, most of our audio that night, because it was close to 4th of July, was ruined because of fireworks. And then this cat, I'm not kidding you, this cat was sitting out the back door going, row, row. And I think I was maybe scared of the fireworks, but we had our cattle dog with us. I mean, Josh Hurd was nice enough to let us bring our old dog with us. And it would not have been, I would have been hard to explain if we let that cat in there. And, it was out the back door and it was yowling. But anyway, I had sat down and I asked Ralph Piper, plain and simple, did your brothers kill the Moore family in Villisca? And I got a yes. And I'm like, oh my God. So then I was like, okay, are they telling the truth, So I was, I'm going to check this out. I'm really going to check it out and see if he could be telling the truth. And the more I looked into it, I can't say that they didn't do it, so, the more evidence I found and stuff, I'd bet my life on it that that's who killed, the Moore family. And his brother, and his other brother, I think, is more responsible for doing railroad killings all over the United States, from starting out in the Pacific Northwest down San Antonio, because he was in the same places, and he was there. And how can it be too much of a coincidence that he was all these places and all these people were dying? And I think that senator paid them. They were connected with that senator, Frank Jones. They were connected to him, and I think that's who paid them to kill the Moore family.
Wow.
And the more stuff I went through, the more stuff I found. And I'm hoping, if anything, my book, I'll set somebody on the mission, go ahead and try to prove that they didn't do it, because I'm betting they did. And
you sent me the articles and stuff on that too.
Oh, I got, I started posting them, on that Facebook. I started a Facebook page, for both books, and post different articles to them. And, I've been posting a lot to that because, he fit. Every place they'd have these descriptions, these different murders and stuff, I come up with a list, they either played cards, it was a salesman, he was around 35, he was nicely dressed, he had dark hair, he had gray eyes, he fits all the descriptions, all the like suspect descriptions. And I was going, it's Edward Piper. That's at Ralph Piper's brother.
Wow.
And, that's, I bet my life on it. That's who did it. And then to top it off, I go to look up his grave on Find a Grave. I get a picture of his grave. He's got some kind of black fungus stuff growing out of his grave. No, I mean, that's not evidence, but I was like, that's just the weirdest thing ever. I've never seen anything like that. And I put that picture on that site, too. I'm not kidding. It's like black stuff growing all over his grave.
Wow, that is so crazy.
Yeah, it is. I think I'm more amazed that a ghost would try to solve a crime like that. Well, I don't doubt Ralph Piper is so pissed off at his brother still through even after death that he would do that, because I think his brother tried to attack his wife. And that's why he moved to Malvern, and because Ralph Piper owned a lot of stuff in Malvern. I mean, they had money, and I think they probably come up with some of that money, criminally. But and people in Malvern's a pretty wild town. I mean, there's all kinds of people like murder, death. They're down by the railroad tracks. I don't know how many kids. I have articles here. It's like crazy. 1972, there was a kid got killed on that Silver Trellis or whatever. It's by the railroad. Silver Creek Trellis. And Gary Bingham, and he died 1972.
Jen B is going to join us for a minute here.
Okay.
You keep talking. I just wanted to, if you hear a hello, it's Miss Jen B.
In 1903, wait, not 1903. I had to print them off and stuff because it was like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Well, 1953, two kids got killed on that trellis. Don Reese and Irving Lee. They were 16. And then it's right here somewhere. Oh, in 1883, Julia Robinson, age 8, was up there on that trellis. She got ran over by the train. And the train one time was there at Malvern and went off the tracks at Malvern, rode down the hill and crushed the engineer. He was like, this one gal that I think actually was connected to the Pipers, her name was Cecil Dodd, age 20, who I think it was her cousin actually married Edward Piper's sister. She was found dead by Malvern, by the tracks. Actually, they thought it was ruled suicide, that she actually threw herself out the bathroom window of a moving train.
Oh, my goodness.
I don't know how you do that, but...
I don't know how you do that either.
But Jen's taking over for me for a minute, and I'll explain after the show why.
Okay.
But I'll be back in a few minutes, okay?
All right. Hi, Jen.
Hey, how are you doing, Ileata? I'm loving what you're telling us, but I have a question already. Who are the Pipers?
Oh, geez. The Piper brothers were they were 4 brothers, actually. Okay. And they were from Albia, originally. Albia, Monroe County, Iowa. And two of the brothers, the Auctioneer family, they moved to Corning, Iowa. It was called the Piper Brother Auctioneer. And then one brother moved to Villisca, Will Piper. And in 1915 or something, the brothers split again, and the younger brother, Wolf Piper, went to Malvern, and he started a lot of businesses in Malvern, and he ended up buying the Cottage Hotel, which is now Malvern Manor, and he called it the Piper Hotel, and he owned it for probably 9 years before he died and stuff, and him and his girlfriend remodeled it and everything. And he's very much a spirit at Malvern Manor. He's the in-your-face spirit. That's what I encountered. I didn't really, I didn't know much of the stories and stuff, but I'm just saying the spirits I encountered at Malvern were Ralph Piper, his girlfriend, Cuba Thompson, who actually, she's kind of a softer, nicer spirit. She's around the kitchen area.
Okay.
And the crazy thing is that when I went through the history, I found they had a story about this little girl named Inez, and she supposedly hung herself at the manor. But actually, when I went through the history, she died down the street, just not too far from the manor. But when I asked, Josh wasn't there when we first went there. Another fellow gave us the tour. And when I asked him, I said, how do you guys know that Inez is here or whatever? And he had told me, well, that was a story that they had heard and stuff. And they'd heard, gotten actual EVPs. And I said, because it's really funny, because when I was doing the history and looking into this Inez, that hotel is exactly where she would go if she died. Because I think actually she did not commit suicide. I think that her, it would have been actually her uncle, T.D. Gibson. I think he had something to do with her death. And he was not a very nice man and stuff. And he kind of put this story out that her, she didn't want to live with her mom or her and stuff, or her dad. But actually her mom was married to another man. Her mom and dad were divorced, and they both were hotel owners, different parts. One was in Colorado, and one was in Montana at the time. But they both owned hotels, and she had spent most of her life working and living in a hotel. So where would she go after death? In a hotel. And not to mention this, she had this pet parrot named Pete. Now, this parrot's Ralph Piper, he ended up, in of course, and this is like 40 years later, had a pet parrot named Pete. What is the chances that this Malvern, Iowa, that Pete was the same parrot? Because parrots live like 75 years.
Yeah, they live forever. They have an extensive lifespan.
Yeah, and they had a big thing about, after Ralph died, he actually died outside of Malvern, and they weren't sure whether it was something to do with the confrontation with some of his employees or whatever, but it was ruled a heart attack and stuff. But Cuba Thompson, his girlfriend, had to fight Ralph Piper's son for this parrot named Pete. And They lost the parrot and stuff and everything. But Inez, if anywhere in Malvern, she would be at that hotel. And I thought that was so fascinating that nobody knows this story. But that's exactly where she would be, she would. I'm guessing whether the parrot attracted her because that was her pet parrot, or the hotel, but that's where she would be. And actually, we did catch something in Inez's room, which I showed Shay a clip of. We caught.
I'm back.
Hi, Shay.
Sorry about that.
We caught.
Well, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Now, when Inez passed, you said that her uncle had put out the story, had put out her so-called, air quotes, reason for this supposed suicide. Was she living with her uncle or staying with her uncle?
With her uncle and her aunt. Her uncle,
and how old was
store.
How old was Inez?
I want to see she was like 11. I don't really have it in front of me here right.
It sounds like you have a lot of history.
Oh yeah, I went through the history.
Well, because I don't have any proof of this, but as soon as you said her uncle put out the story, I had this overwhelming feeling of sexual abuse.
Oh yeah. That's exactly what I think, Jen. He was a creepo. There is instances in the paper clippings that I found about him that people would come into his house and like tie him up and threaten him because he over deals, and he was always suing people, and he just, and
He's
not
a scoundrel.
and not to mention his brother Sylvester Gibson in Montana. After Inez's death, Sylvester went into another hotel owner and shot him in the head. So that was the kind of people they were. And this T.D. Gibson, I read his obituary and stuff after he died. He never mentioned any of Inez or her brother. Or I just think he was a bad guy. And
was there an autopsy done on Inez?
No, that comes to the doctor that actually went in there, Scott and stuff, and another doctor. He had an office at, they would have been the Cottage Hotel at that time. Years later, he ended up committed suicide at the Cottage Hotel, which would have been Malvern Manor. There's a lot of layers to Malvern Manor.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I mean, I've only seen the live broadcasts, and everything you're describing is basically like what happens on the live broadcasts. It's just like the most active place.
Well, yeah, and it's like, I don't know, these people, I don't know, people kind of get caught up on the mentally disabled part of the place and stuff. No, there's like a way history of that place. That was the I.B. Ringland home, I.B. Ringland home, and he was one of the starters of Malvern, and it was a Masonic lodge. They had the Silver Oak Masonic Lodge there at the first funeral that town was his son in 1870 and stuff. And this lady bought it after the Ringlands died and stuff, and moved another building to it and attached it to the Ringland home and made the Cottage Hotel. And then they kept adding to it and stuff, and it's been the Cottage Hotel, and then the Piper Hotel, and I think it actually was another hotel name. It had a restaurant in it at one time.
Wow.
They had psychics and clairvoyants in there in the late 1800s, early 1900s. Spiritualists. I mean, that place has got a lot of layers in there.
I have another question now. Shay's going to be sorry she asked me to help her out.
No. I appreciate it.
Well, now I'm wondering, Ileata's obviously done such wonderful research. I know she's going to know the answer. Is it on a ley line? Is it close to a ley line? Because it seems like it just draws in congregations of people, whether they be living or the living that want to speak to the dead with, having clairvoyance and such there.
You know what? I've never looked at that. But, like I said, it's not too far from that Wabash Trail and stuff, which used to be that railroad track where all them people, just crazy accidents happen. And not to mention, you walk right outside the Malvern Manor, and there's a restaurant there. Well, in 1933, Clyde Bacon, who his mom owned the restaurant, but he had a apartment. He walked right out the back door of his the restaurant and shot himself in the head.
Holy shit!
There's weird stuff in Malvern Manor. The lady down the street, you walk up the street from Malvern Manor, probably about 2 blocks away. And I don't have her name. I'll have to look it up. Up the article again. But anyway, she walked right out the door. She left her kids inside and walked right out the door and shot herself. So, there's a lot of crap that went on at Malvern. And then you have Charles. There's another unsolved mystery. And the unsolved mysteries, one's in Villisca and one's in Malvern. What do they have in common? The Pipers. But anyway,
See, that's amazing how you were able to link that information together. Do you have a book? Did you write a book on this?
Yeah. To Pay the Piper is the book that I wrote about Malvern, about the Villisca axe murders and stuff. Because, see, I like Amy Allen. I like to listen to her. I mean, some of the stories on the Dead Files, I mean, it's kind of wild, but I pick up, some things. I think a lot of what she's saying is factual. And when she went to the Villisca, a lot of what she said was very factual. I went back through and stuff, and she was saying that they knew that the little girl was confused. Lena was confused and stuff, that she knew him. Yeah, she knew who killed her. Will Piper sold Shetland ponies to the kids in Villisca.
Oh, man.
And I was like, that's horrible.
See, it feels like that poor little girl was just being used completely inappropriately.
And then Nez and Malvern, I was talking about Lena and Villisca, but Nez at Malvern Manor, she didn't die at Malvern Manor, but she died like kind of like catty corner from Malvern. It's just like right there. Okay. And I think that her uncle was her foster dad, or uncle. I guess they called it foster dad, but it was her uncle was abusing her. Yeah, I have no doubt. And I think she was going to say something, or she was pregnant.
I felt pregnant.
Yeah.
That's why I had asked if they did an autopsy on that poor child. Both of the girls.
They're at Villisca. Now, I don't think them girls were sexually assaulted. You know what I think that Bacon was?
Just that they were murdered is horrific.
Yeah. Lena and Ina Stillinger. The crazy thing is about that is they found in that room is the room downstairs. They found bacon wrapped in like a towel, and they had thought maybe it was used to make like a false vagina or I don't know. I can't even say that word. Masturbatory aid. There we go. Hey, I got it out. Anyway, I don't think so. I think it ties into the murder that happened in Paola, Kansas a couple days before, and they were looking for a swine-faced fat man. I think it was a pun on that. Here's your swine-faced fat man. They wrapped bacon with a dish towel around it and set it next to the axe.
Wow. Which Shay and I are both like simultaneous. Wow.
And because they could never figure that out and stuff. And like I said, he left all these clues. I mean, I put it in the book. He left all these clues from murders to murders. I mean, one murder, he liked to mix, he would play a pun on the sheriffs of the town, down in the Showman murder, down in Ellsworth, Kansas. He killed the Showman family, but then he went and he cut the screen on the sheriff's house, and the sheriff's name was Merritt. Okay, and on a killing before in Colorado, one of the witnesses' name was Merritt. Okay, on a killing in it would have been Rainier, Washington and stuff, the sheriff's name was Longmire. Okay, then the killing in Paola, Kansas and stuff, he broke into a lady's house named Longmire, and he left the dress from the murder people in the Hudson family in Paola, Kansas. Now, a lot of people don't know, 5 days later, the Villisca axe murder happened in Villisca. Now, the people that were murdered in Paola, Kansas were the Hudsons. After they killed the Moore family, guess who's they had a break-in Villisca at the telephone office. Who was running the telephone office? Another Hudson. Another man named Hudson, Will Hudson. And he was actually the delegate of the Socialist Party, and he was head of the phone. He had the record to Senator Frank Jones. Well, he wasn't senator at the time. He was running for senator, but Frank Jones had been calling and stuff. I think they were trying to pin the murders on him and stuff, but it didn't work out because the door was locked and they couldn't get in.
That
There, and stuff,
you're
and
like
then
a detective.
oh yeah, I like that. I liked. You know what? I grew up with Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys, and I loved them. Hey, Scooby Doo, they were good.
Oh yeah, I can relate to some Scooby Doo.
Yeah, me too.
Shay,
Did you read the Nancy Drew and Hardy Boys books? I mean, I watched the Hardy Boys. You know.
I didn't. But I did watch some Scooby Doo.
Yeah, I watched a lot of Scooby Doo. I think that's part
You
of
have to
it.
remember, I had kids really early.
I did too.
Really early, so I was past that stuff. But I remember, I think it was my oldest son. They did some little movies on them, so I do know who they are.
You didn't watch the Hardy Boys when you were little?
No.
Sean Cassidy? Oh my God, he's hot.
Yeah, he was.
Is
he still alive?
I was like 4 years old wearing a Sean Cassidy t-shirt.
Is he one of the Partridges?
That was David Cassidy.
Oh, all right, I had the right last name.
I don't think David Cassidy's still alive, is he?
The Partridge one just died
know.
recently.
That would be David Cassidy.
Yeah, okay.
I don't think Sean Cassidy's alive. That would have been his younger brother.
Yeah,
Or is that I don't know.
But the guy who does Fred Jones' voice on Scooby-Doo is still alive. And he does Scooby-Doo's voice. And he does Megatron's voice in the Transformer movies.
Oh, jeez.
See, I love Scooby-Doo because it always, even though I swear they were high and probably having sex in the back room, besides that, they always investigated and found out the monsters were always actual human beings.
Yep. And you know what? It has a good lesson. It does. Really.
Yep.
Because that's true. The real monsters are not ghosts.
Yeah.
I've never encountered. I've counted some nasty ghosts and some weird crap and stuff, but I've never encountered anything that was no more than, I find it fascinating. I find phenomenon fascinating. It doesn't scare me. It takes me by surprise. I'm more like, okay, did that just fucking happen or what?
Yeah.
But I don't get freaked out. I have screamed at an investigation one time, and Ben, to be fair, it was kind of freaky. We were at the Squirrel Cage jail in Council Bluffs, Iowa. And Squirrel Cage jail is this jail. It turns like in the center. It's like shaped like a pie. And I've been there all night doing good and stuff. And we were walking around looking at them, taking the flashlight. I look up there and there is an arm sticking out of the cage. And I screamed. I don't know why I screamed. I just did.
It surprised you.
It was just a rubber arm. They would have the rubber arm showing, how the inmates would break their arms and stuff. And Paul, it would have been Chris's husband, he's like, oh, yeah, I seen that earlier. And I said, well, why didn't you say something? Because I felt like a dumbass screaming.
Kim says Sean Cassidy is still alive. She follows him on Facebook.
Oh, okay.
And
wow.
To tell you a funny story about the screaming and stuff that you were just talking about, my sister and I, Nicole, we just did we returned 2 weeks in a row. We did, which one did we do? Laconia State School. And the first time we were there, there's this little alcove, and you can see through it. And you can see there's nothing in there, and we hear wrestling and stuff. So I'm thinking a bat or a mouse is going to come out. So I step behind her, and I'm like, dude, I love you, but I'm sacrificing you. So then, like, within 5 minutes, we start getting, the meters start trying to go off, and some weird stuff started to happen, and all of a sudden, we hear this growl, like, I've never heard this kind of growl before. But, you know, mind you, I just tried to sacrifice her when I thought a little mouse was coming out. But instead of getting scared, we hear this growl, and we can see nothing's in front of us. And I just put my hand on my hip, and I'm like, hey, was that you? So, you know, the ghosts don't scare me. Animals, people, they scare me, but the ghosts do not.
Shays, I'll throw you to the mouse, but if it's a ghost, I got your back.
Yeah, I did. I thought an animal was coming out the first time, and I'm like, dude, I love you, but I'm sacrificing you. But the ghost growling, I'm like, yeah, hey, what are you doing? Is that you?
Oh, I had like a similar thing happen years ago and stuff. I had a friend that lived, she lived kind of like in rural Nebraska and stuff in this like farmhouse and stuff. We used to call it the swamp. But anyway, she kept saying, oh, my house is so haunted. I can't stay here and stuff. And I was like, what's happening? And she's like, I hear him. It's growling and snarling and stuff. And I'm like, okay. I said, I'll come out there. So I go out there and everything, and I'm listening. My eyes, like, I can hear something, you know, it's up in the ceiling. And so I said, well, let's get a ladder. And I said, I'll pop my head up there. I go, and I climb this ladder. That was your first mistake, girlfriend. Yeah, I know. And I pop the hood. I face this big, pissed off raccoon. It's in there going, cat, cat, you know, it's, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to die. And so I was more scared of the damn raccoon. I was like, I could face a demon, but fuck that raccoon.
Yeah, raccoon's right.
That's like, how I feel. Yeah. No.
I like them. They're nice and free. I like to look at them, but I don't want to face one.
I like looking at them on video, but in person, I'll pass. Thank you.
Yeah.
When they fight them over the attic, they have
big teeth. I don't care what people say. They have big teeth.
Yeah, they do.
Oh,
they're so mean.
So, Ileata, I got to ask one more question, and then I'll get off and let Shay ask all the questions. Where can we find your book? I'm sure that Shay was going to have you say this, but I got to know now.
Jen, there's 2 books before you leave.
There's 2 books?
Yeah, there's one on Nebraska hauntings and stuff, too. And then there's one about my experience at Malvern Manor and stuff. And like I said, if anything, I hope I provoke a different conversation and people will look into this. Because believe it or not, I would love to be able to travel to all these other cities and actually dig through their information. But I went through newspaper articles. I spent a lot of time on this, and I include, you know, people can follow along for themselves and make their own decisions. But to me, it's too much of a coincidence, you know, when you have somebody say, yeah, that's who killed them, and that's who probably did kill them, because if you look through all the evidence, that's probably that's who did it. You know, it had to be, you know.
I just, so you know, I just put your name into Amazon. All I put in was Ileata, and bam, Ileata Kenley came up. Yep. To Pay the Piper, The Real Axeman, and My Haunted Journey of Nebraska. Both of them popped right up. You can even get one of them on Kindle. And if you're
you can get both on Kindle.
Well, if you're a Kindle subscriber, you can get To Pay the Piper for free. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah. I don't really. You know what? You don't write books to make money. I mostly wrote them books, basically. Well, I actually hope I do make enough money to pay for my editor. But anyway, I wrote them because I wanted to tell people. I wanted to tell people about this. You know, I don't even give a shit. You know that I figured this out. I'm more like, I want people to dig into this and really, look, because evidence has got to exist somewhere. And where you have this man's handwriting and you know where this man's body is, and he probably, I don't know, Will Piper never had any children and stuff, but if there's DNA, they can probably prove this crime.
I wonder if there is.
If there's any DNA from any of these axe murders or anything, even that letter from the axe murder in New Orleans, they can compare signatures. They have his signature. He was left-handed. They were looking for a left-handed killer. It's him.
Well, if he was buried,
if
he was buried, can't they pull him up and
exhume
him from the grave and take the DNA from his teeth?
Yeah,
they can't do the embalming fluid, but but
I'm sure and I think Edward.
Sure.
They can prove one way or another whether he did it or not, and it would be too paranormal, freaky if he wasn't. Nobody has that many coincidences. Nobody. They were looking for a train killer. He was traveling the train. He fit he even fits the FBI profile. They come up with an FBI profile of the killer, and he fits it exactly. So that's who did it. I mean, and then there's another piece of evidence that's so crazy. There at Villisca, the dogs, the bloodhounds, they took off and they ran. And one of the things was that they headed towards F.F. Jones' house because they went right by. Well, the Pipers, Will Piper lived 1 mile directly north of F.F. Jones' house. So I'm wondering if they didn't catch the scent. And they ran right to the river. And if you follow that river north of Villisca for 1 mile, and then there's a creek, it branches off back to the east, it goes right to the Piper's house. He bought that property just probably 6 months before the killing, and he sold it immediately afterwards.
Wow.
It's all I keep coming to my mind. Wow, there's no other.
He burned it down first, and then he sold the property. But he paid an enormous price. He paid for it'd be the equivalent of $250,000 in nowadays for the property, and then he just sold it for anybody who would give him money.
Jeez.
So nobody does that.
No, they don't.
And without a reason, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, who's F.F. Jones?
Senator F.F. Jones is who is actually one of the only people that they basically, they put on trial for paying somebody. They knew he paid somebody to kill the Moore family.
Okay.
And the
was
Piper
he found guilty?
No,
that's
the
so.
thing, he was found guilty and stuff. But Will Piper worked with him and did odd jobs for him and stuff. So, trust me, read the book. That's who killed the Moore family.
That's incredible. Well, Shay, thank you so much for, I'm always happy to help when you need me to step in, but I'm going to take this opportunity to just be a listener and turn the volume back up. Ileata, thank you for talking with us and all of that. And I know we're not live video, but I see your picture and you have the most beautiful white hair. Oh my God.
Aw, thank you. I don't feel so bad for being old fogey.
Oh, I love white hair. I can't wait for mine to all go white. All right, well, I'm going to get off, and I'll be listening in, ladies. This is so interesting.
Thank you, Miss Jen.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Night-night.
Okay. What do you want to talk about real fast?
Yeah, that went by quick, huh?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I told you I'd get rambling on about stuff.
No. Never be sorry. I think any podcast, any, not just mine, any podcast is the best when the guest does the most talking. That's how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be about the guest. And when they just go on like that, that's awesome. I don't have to, pry things out of you.
Yeah.
And you get excited, and that's awesome, because you hit a key point with me when you said, you're not doing this for money. You just want people to stop and think. And you know what? That's what got me into podcasting. You don't have to agree with me, but I'm trying to make you stop and think.
Yeah.
Agree, disagree, just think about it for a second, and then I'll be happy.
Yep. I agree. I do things different than other people. Like I said, I do a lot of like personal cases. I help people, I help people that think they've been bewitched and stuff, and I help people with that, and I do a lot of that kind of stuff. And like I said, I told you before, some of the most amazing stories have nothing to do with famous haunted place or something.
Right.
I mean, they're just average everyday, person's
Those
house.
Those are my favorites, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I personally like to do the research. Well, I go through and I get my sense of the place, and then I go through the research, and it's almost like I'm looking for validation of my, this is what I feel. I want to make sure this is what I feel, and I think that's how I basically got into it, is that I didn't want to be branded as nuts. So when I encounter like spirits and stuff, I want to know who the hell they are. And so I go back and I go through the research and I find them, and I always what's my talent? What's my super talent? Well, I find people in history and stuff. So
how long, we didn't touch on this in the beginning, but how long have you been doing this?
Oh, geez. Like I told you, my mom, I kind of grew up with that. And, just the strange things with my mom. But I have had weird things happen to me my whole life. And I just like to make sure that, it was like, where my mom had, my mom actually was branded paranoid schizophrenic. And so then, and she was a military person, and she made the mistake of telling a military doctor that she hears voices, and that's how they branded her that.
So, before you go on,
do
you think she was, and no judgment, I don't mean this badly, do you think she was really paranoid schizophrenic?
No.
It's a two-part question. That's why I'm asking. No? You think she really,
No, but I think she suffered depression, because I think a lot of it, my family, they were in Masonic. She was a member of Eastern Star. For one, I can tell you one thing about the Eastern Star and Masonic and whatever. If they think you're nuts, you would not be a part of their club. If they think you're nuts or
that
anything,
sounds familiar, but what is it?
If they thought Eastern Star is part of the Masonic Lodge, Freemasonry.
Okay, yep.
Yeah, and my mom was a member of Eastern Star. My grandma was a member of the Eastern Star. And it was a small town. If them people really thought my mom was nuts, she would not have been part of the Eastern Star. That is just a fact. So no, I don't think my mom was nuts. I think the military probably that's what they did. They branded her. But can I say for 100% am I sure that my mom was talking to spirits? No, because I didn't see what she was talking to. But I did feel things, different. I can tell you one thing. When we were in Egypt, we were in the Valley of the Kings and stuff. My mom refused to go into King Tut's temple. She sat outside in over 100-degree temperature and waited for us to go through the tour, but she refused to go in there. She said she could not go in there. And I said, well, Mom, why in the hell would you let me go in there?
What was her answer?
I
You didn't
never
know?
said that, but I just,
Oh, okay.
I thought that, and I thought that years later, and stuff. But my mom, it was the weirdest thing. She refused to go down there and stuff, and I've never seen her do anything like that before. So, and I've had weird things happen in different countries. I was in, maybe Florence, Italy, and stuff. And I was with the American Institute for Foreign Study, and we were walking down the road, and I got punched by a monk. I don't know if it was red hair or what, but this monk punched me. And I was like, what the hell was that about?
I don't mean to laugh. I'm sorry. I'm picturing myself is why I'm laughing. I'm like, that's something that would happen to me.
Yeah,
Must be the red hair.
Yeah, well, that's the only thing. I had bright red hair, and that's the only thing I can think of. Why would a fucking monk punch me? It was like a Franciscan monk, too. He had the little bald head and ring around his head, and it was like, at least he didn't whack me with a staff or something. But
No, he just punched you.
No, he did. Yeah, he punched me. Punched me hard enough that I fell forward and fell to my knees because he punched me in the back.
Wow.
So, no, I always joke with people. I like, maybe I have weird energy or something. I don't know. I don't know why I attract this weird ass crap happening.
That is funny and sad all in the same.
I know. It's like, welcome to my weird life. I have weird synchronicities happen all the time.
Jen is in the chat saying, who can say they've been punched by a monk?
Yeah, me, I can.
But I've never been around a monk, but I'm sure a monk would punch me and not feel bad.
Yeah. It's like, holy cow. I did have an Arab offer camels once for me, too, when I was a little kid. No, thank God my mom didn't sell me.
Oh, Jesus.
It's like, I don't know. Because, see, red hair is, like, sacred to them or something. It has something to do with Mecca. And it was like, oh, thank God my mom didn't sell me some Arab.
Oh, my God. Well, my mother didn't sell me either, but she probably didn't know.
Yeah. Well, if my mom would have got enough money for me, I don't know, maybe.
I feel bad for my mom now that I'm an old adult,
Yeah.
I
wish my mom was still alive. Oh, God. She was a riot.
You're making me cry in a funny way. Not in a sad way, but because...
Yeah.
So you took parapsychology courses, right?
Yeah, through the Rhine Institute.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and then I took classes with Lloyd Auerbach. Man, that's a man you should get on. He is fascinating. I wish they would make like paranormal TV, but to like case files from like the Rhine and SPR and stuff, because there is some really freaky real stuff, that the parapsychologists have encountered that has no explanation. Like, he had one case he told me about was they went to this house in New York, and the ceiling, it would start raining from the ceiling and just raining all over like a rainforest.
Oh.
I could not figure out why this was happening. And
that sounds familiar to me.
You probably maybe have heard it. And anyway, they, through the interviews and stuff and everything, they found out that the teenage boy was on a swim team, but he didn't like competition swimming. And here this was a poltergeist phenomenon centered around him. And once he told his parents, look, I don't like competing and swimming and stuff, this rain stopped in the house. But he had no control over it. It isn't something that he can do. It was just something,
it was his emotions being shown physically.
Yeah.
Projecting.
Yep, he hated, and they have many cases like that, and these are real things that, and I just think they're like, wow, this is like crazy fascinating to me. And that's why I kind of look at for, when I do like cases, when I in homes and or at homes, I kind of look, to see if there's stress in somebody's life. Maybe they're causing this poltergeist phenomenon in their house.
Yeah.
And actually, once you figure out that people that are sensitive and extra sensitive, they're always going to live in haunted places because it's their gift that allows them to see into the spirit world. It's not the spirits fucking with them. It's because they have a gift and they can see them, and that goes a long ways to helping people like deal with it. That actually these ghosts are not bothering them. It's your gift. And once you learn how to control with this, maybe you could shut it off and you won't see this stuff no more. Because children are way more open than us. And once they close off, they don't see this stuff no more.
Sorry.
Yeah, with you. I was like, what? Yapping away.
Due to some stuff that's going on here, I know it's been at least an hour. I'm gonna have to end the show, but I have a date available at the end of the month if you will be willing to come back.
Sure, and then I'll tell you about Nebraska
the second
Hollings.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. We ended up talking about another one, but I had a really good time.
No, I loved
you.
it. I loved it. I will I can message you after the show and explain, but I can't say on air what's going on.
Okay.
But they're loving it in the chat room, and I really loved it so much, and
I love hearing about them too, and like
I love
the people
this
that
side,
you have
though.
in your chat room.
I don't get to do this much. This side of things, the research, and so I really, really love this.
Oh wow! Yeah, well, hopefully I didn't freak them out with telling them yap.
No. It's all positive.
I had a good time, and thank you for having me.
I so appreciate it, and I am fascinated with the research side of things and the parapsychology side of things. Before I end, I do want to say a couple things. We have her 2 books can be found on Amazon, and it's Pay the Piper, and it is also My Haunted Journey of Nebraska, and her Facebook page is Parapsychology Field Researcher and Author Ileata Kenley. It's been shared all over Paranormal Buzz Radio on Facebook, so you can find it there. And I really would like you to come back if possible, because
thank you so much for having me.
We have another whole book to cover.
Yeah, yap away.
No, that's good. I'm serious.
Well, thank you for having me. Really, I had a good time.
I did
always
too,
have a good time.
Yeah, we accidentally met in the chat, and it grew from there. And I love the parapsychology thing, and I love the research side of things, and because I investigate, but I'm just learning everything else. So, and I don't get to have people on too much that have the parapsychology part and the research part, So I highly enjoy it.
Oh, thank you.
You are very welcome. Did I miss anything? I said where you could be found. No, I think I got it. So, everybody's saying great show, and I'm going to give a few shout outs here. Thank you, Kim, and Jen B, thank you so much for stepping in for me. I so appreciate it, and I love you. Thank you, Wolf. Let's see. I can only scroll so far. I know Mallory was in there. Kim. And of course, it's not going to let me scroll all the way down because It likes being.
Well, thank you, everybody, too.
Yes, and I, as long as I didn't piss her off too much, she will be back.
No, you don't piss me off.
So,
all right.
All right, hold on one second. I guess I should say who's going to be my upcoming guest here before I... Sorry, guys, my mind is really scattered. It's been a long week. Next week, December 7th, we have the Southern Gypsies, which will be informative, and it will also be fun as hell. Then December 14th, we have Miss Luna. And I think Luna was in the chat tonight too, but I can't scroll all the way back. I'm not sure. So, we will see you next Friday. If not before, we will be on Sunday with Miss Jen B, the Skeptic and the Psychic. We will be talking about my past investigation and maybe some cryptozoology stuff. If I have time to do some more research, we will see. So, all right, Alita, hold on one quick second.
For more information regarding what Paranormal Buzz Radio has to offer, visit our website, paranormalbuzzradio.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram.